If you look at the first observations which we made, is that the last financial year we were able to collect almost 12 billion in form of revenue. This is through stamp duty, land rents, and so many other revenue streams. And because of the problem that we find ourselves in, I think it will make a lot of sense if we are able, and that's why we are, at the end of the day, we'll be recommending that we reinstate the entire budget for the State Department of Lands, because it will help in so many ways in assisting the government raise the revenue that is required for various activities within the government. The areas which we have identified, number one is the settlement of the landless. Mr. Chairman, we do have a contract between ourselves or the State Department of Lands. We give an undertaking to procure 11,000 acres of land in Kedong, and we've already done an initial payment of 1.8 billion. So we still have an outstanding bill that we need to pay. So what we had as an allocation was 3.7 billion. And this attracted a cut of 3.6. So what we have under that item is only 20 million, which is not sufficient. First, for that undertaking which we did some time back. Number two, we also do realize that we had an allocation of about 200 million for the Tana River. Those people were affected by the floods. They are still staying in their tents. We also had a calamity in Maimaihu, and we had an allocation of 250. So the 20 million that is allocated in the supplemental one is not sufficient at all. So what we are seeking for is a reinstatement of the entire budget of 3.7 billion. Number B is digitization of land records. We had 477 in the approved estimates. That's 474, 760 million. In the supplemental, we have 130 million, and a cut of 3.7, 760. And we are saying this is what we have been doing as a department. And we are targeted to undertake these exercises in small registries in West Pokot and Tana River. And the committee recommends that we have this reinstated. Because some of these reviews which we have done, we've realized that we're able to harness resources for the purpose of undertaking programs within the ministry and also assist the government in raising revenue. Number C, processing and registration of title deeds. The committee recommends that since this is the core mandate of the ministry, we have registries across the country, and we are seeking for reinstatement or allocation of 580.3 million for the production of and registration of titles across. Initially, in the approved estimates, we had 930 million. We have an allocation of 350 in the supplementary, and we feel it's not sufficient. We have registries, we have employees. If we undertake this cut, those people will be idle and will not be able to raise the much needed revenue. Number D is georeferencing of land parcels. And the committee recommends that we reinstate the 100 million cut. This is a prerequisite or a requirement that for us to do digitization, we need to do georeferencing. There are certain activities which come or which are undertaken before we do the actual digitization, and these are ongoing programs. And we are saying that for us to fully realize that objective, we'll need this money so that we're able to undertake those activities. And then we have number E, which is actually the last one, is the construction of land registries. We suffered a cut of 100%. In fact, we had an allocation, approved allocation of 138 million, but in the supplementary there is nothing. So meaning that all these running contracts which are enforced will not be honored. It will be a breach of contract, and we are likely to face a number of litigations because of lack of that budget line. So that's now for the State Department of Lands. Then we go to NLC. NLC suffered, Chairman, 100% cut. 100%. Everything that we had allocated for development, the whole of it was taken. And then there was a reduction of 86.1 million in recurrent. Some of these activities which fall under that recurrent is like issues of historical land injustices, issues to do with the allocation of allotment letters, which we are able to collect as NLC. We are able to collect 1 million per year, 1 billion actually per year. And so you are saying that this cut of 86.1, if we are able to raise 1 billion out of it, it should be reinstated. So Chairman and members of the committee, that's what we have as a presentation. But I want to stress and emphasize that even as you undertake these hearings, just try to isolate, because we know and we the situation we find ourselves in as a government. Just try to isolate some of those ministries which are able to raise resources, which are not consumers. This State Department is in a position to raise, actually their target is 20 billion this financial year. And if properly resourced, if properly funded, they'll be able to do that. There are these other things which I've talked about. The issue of Maimayu, where we had allocated 250, those people are still in camps. So if you take the old junk, then it leaves us in a very awkward position. We have Tana River, where we are saying that those people are still in camps. They are tented somewhere. Kids are not able to go to school. And then we have what we are getting as an allocation is only 20 million. So there are times when you need to put a human face to some of these proposals. And let's do a critical analysis. Look at those departments, some of the projects which can even be delayed, so that we are to assist those departments which are in a position, which have a potential of raising monies which we require as a government, so that we are able to run the activities of the country from a strategic point of view. So, Chairman, I submit.
The total that you're asking for as additional requests, and compared to the A&A that we've just been guided, you've pushed the ministry to look for more money in excess of about 450 million. And you have an opportunity to tell us whether that 450, out of your requests, maybe you want that 450, the plan is committed that 450 to be used in a specific area under A to D, A to E. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, because I sit in this committee of lands, I just want to stand and support my chairman that all these recommendations, because I can't ask any question, I understand them. I just want to support and say that, Chairman, we understand what we are undergoing. We are here at least to reduce, yes. But you see, in this case here, there is a reduction of 100%, where the previous budget, now it is removed everything. So I want to support my chair with these recommendations that we consider and reinstate. Thank you, Chair.
As I give Honorable Alvario, members, going forward, as you know, there is no one like Range State. Because the budget we have is not as we cut. The budget we have is a consulted document by the government itself. So the only word here is an addition or a subtraction. But unfortunately, as we were briefed earlier in the week, last week, again the word addition is not applicable this financial year. And therefore, if you could help us now utilize the word cut further, it will really help. So, Honorable,
Thank you, Chair. I also support the sentiment of the Chair of the committee. Chair, as you are aware, on the MLC there is 100% cut, and on the ministry, 51% cut. Chair, as you are aware, this is a revenue generating ministry. So, it is very unfair if we reduce or we remove the funds that is bringing to another fund, Chair. Additional to the revenue is very sad. Chair, also, on the issue of resettlement. On the issue of resettlement, Chair, I think you have visited my mind, you have visited Tanariva. Those people are still living in the camps. I think it is a priority for this country to resettle Kenyans who are suffering in the camps. So it is very unfortunate to leave those funds with only 20 million. Chair, when we are at the budget making process, we removed 1 billion from equalization to the political parties. And today, the jailer committee has reallocated the political parties fund to other issues. So it is, as you have said, there is no addition for this supplementary, but also it is the duty of this committee to actually rearrange the budget so that these suffering Kenyans and also the ministry that is producing a lot of revenue for this country and the NLC, which is a constitutional commission, to get funds. I submit, Chair.
Honorable Dr. Makalimuru.
On this issue of A, because the chair has made some statements which has triggered some of my thinking. The chair says this year, just the immediate year, they have collected 2.2 billion. He says this ministry has a potential of collecting 20 billion if they are supported as he's proposing. And then he is only proposing that we adjust the A from 1.4 to 1.8. You know, we have been discussing the issue of underreporting matters A, and I think it's important this ministry comes up clear on this matter. Because if you are able to collect 20 billion by being facilitated, I would wish to see which areas really need that facilitation, because that will then help our revenue collection. And the other point, Mr. Chair, there's a point we have raised is very important. You know, Chair, what we are doing is just for one financial year, and it's informed by the current situation. Where, like you are proposing to construct registries. These places have been having registries. I've not been having a single registry for since 1963. Will it make a much difference if we said defer this by a year, so that we just suspend this for this year, next year you bring the same thing, and things will have improved. So I think even as we look for more money, it's important we appreciate what we are going through this particular financial year, because we have no finance bill. It has already been withdrawn. I think these are the issues, Mr. Chairman, need to factor in as we discuss.
Honorable Makalimuru, the only good thing that you have in that is that actually the registry is part of the additional requests which are not available. So part 58 is request for additional funding.
Chair, the question that I wanted to ask has been asked by Dr. Makalimuru about the under representation of the A. And Chair, I wanted to ask Chair another question. Chair, since I joined Parliament this term, I've been trying to register my property. has not happened. And that property will give the government about 5 million in terms of stamp duty. So if you need 3 years to register property, how will these people collect money? I believe I'm not the only one.
So Christopher Aseka has a point. He's asking whether that is the value of the property or the stamp duty. Is Honorable Aseka.
Chair, my question has been, I believe the chair has had my question. So what I'm trying to ask is if it will take you guys 2 years to register property, how are you going to collect money? Because as you said, this is a department that can give us revenue, a lot of revenue. So what is this problem with? Why can't you people register property? Why can't the Ministry of Land register property? If you could be doing this in 3 months, we would be having so much money, honestly. So, Chair, can you tell this committee why the Ministry of Land should not be visited by Gen Zs tomorrow, Mr. Chair? So that, thank you.
Let me give Honorable Kidilai Olentutu.
For the new registry, there's a government policy that is stop further construction of new buildings, at least for this year. And particularly, the one I wanted to clarify was the Kidong Ranch. For the landless in the guys who are affected in Maimayu, have you already gotten a place to settle them, or is part of this Kidong arrangement? Thank you.
To the last financial year, KRA used to collect this stamp duty, but it's now being collected by the PS is actually a collector of that item. So that's why we are saying of 11.5 and the targeted or the projected of 20 billion.
Government collects and uses. So for example, the A&A currently in the books is 1.4 as stated by the chair. But then when you look at the expenditure items, it's subdivided into different expenditure items. So in this case, if they want to increase it by 450, the committee will also have to bring expenditure items that amount to the 450. But as it is right now, there was no cut in any. Yeah.
Is that the revenue for us comes from stamp duty. So what we want to understand is this number 50, paragraph 50. What is the connection between paragraph 50, that A in A of 11.8 billion? What is the connection between that and 57? What is the distinction? Because it seems 11.8 is a different revenue line from this of 57.
Yeah.
Yes, so we want that clarity. What is what? Is it part of stamp duty? Is it another kind of fee or levy? What is it?
So the paragraph 50, the 11.8 goes the it's KRA. Yeah, it goes to KRA. So even if the PS is, yes. So this other one for 57 is what the fees, the small fees they collect, and then they are allowed to utilize at source. They say utilize at source. So you can collect this amount. So as it is right now, they are collecting 751 in recurrent, and then they are allowed to spend that in different expenditure items under the recurrent budget. And then there's another 650 for development. So in the development budget, they are allowed to use it on development items within the State Department. So both recurrent and development is amounting to 1.4. But then now what the chair is requesting is the State Department is saying that they can collect more than the 1.4, they want it increased to 1.8. So but then if for it to be approved, it has to come together with specific expenditure items that will be spent within that. So they are seeking for the Treasury to allow them to collect more. Yeah.
By the department. We could then therefore displace some from the money we are borrowing and enhance the A in A, and therefore we borrow less. Is that possible? Practically, not politically, but practically.
Yes, practically.
Yes, legally it's possible. It's the politically is the answer the other answer that you was asking about.
Politically, I mean, the committee limits. But if you want to have
We are saying that you had a target of 1.2, and we were in a position to collect up to, that's at source, what can be spent to 2.2. So the balance was remitted to consolidated fund. This 11.8 billion is monies collected by the ministry, by activities of the ministry, of course in form of revenue, but it should not be attributed to KRA, even if you were to draw a line. We are saying that the ministry is in a position to assist the government by enhancing the activities. So when you choke, when you strangle the activities of registration, when you do the same to the activities of those transfers, like the stamp duty, then the government will not be able to raise more money, which can then be spent across. And what the ministry or the State Department has targeted, because last year, that's before we did the reforms which have been done now, like digitization, we were in a position to collect 11.8, whether it's going through KRA or whichever platform. But we are in a position to collect in the upward of 20 billion, which can then be shared or which can be utilized. So this 1.4 is just spent at source, and we'll be able to then factor it in the budget items or the budget lines, if that approval is given. So what we are doing is first to seek for approval. If it's possible, then we can redo and apply it within the budget lines. Thank you, Chair.
Must also be considerate as a country that some of our brothers and sisters are still in camps out of El Nino. For example, the residents of Maimahio, where we went actually with Honorable Ali Wario, residents of Tana River, others including actually in Moranga, some who were affected by landslides. And we concur with you that whatever or wherever the money will come from, we need to source for money for the people of Maimahio who are affected by the floods and the other Kenyans who are equally affected. So we concur, and we'll be looking at what to do, especially internally. Because, Chairman, this time round, again, the space we have is almost non-existent, but we'll look at what we can do so that those Kenyans do not continue to suffer because of the squeeze that we have physically. So thank you very much. We wish you a great weekend.